Drybear, what are you doing?
Oh hey Todd, I was just watching this rant on why Smite relics are shit.
Nigga Todd, that fake shit.
You know what we do is for the best interest of Smite.
I thought it was to make more money.
You're right.
Yep, Aegis then beads. Aegis needs. Aegis needs. Aegis needs. Aegis needs. Aegis needs. Aegis needs. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Double Tap. My name is Fantastic Toby, and today, guys, we're going to be ranting about a subject that I've been wanting to talk about for quite some time now. I am, of course, referring to the Relic system in Smite. So before I drag on the intro a little bit too long, let's just get right into it, boys, because I got a lot of talked about. So let's get right into it. I'm 100% nigga. Alright, before we can start ranting about the relics themselves, I feel like we have to take a blast to the past.
Got a blast!
To the past.
And, talk about the old active system that used to exist, and why I loved it so much more than the relic system. You see, with the old active system, you had choice. You got to decide when you wanted to rank up these actives, how many of them you wanted to start off the game with. If you really wanted to, you could start off the game with a blank, with a meditation, with a sprint, with whatever you wanted, dude. You could just decide whatever you wanted. Let's say you're a warrior, right? Warriors aggressively scale with XP. They don't use their gold to scale a lot. They use their gold mainly to buy defensive items to help them survive better in late game teamfights. So with this extra income that they don't need as much as maybe an ADC would, they can dump it into the active system. Rank up their blink a little bit more, rank up their sprint a little bit more, rank up their shield of the underworld. They can rank up these things a lot more aggressively than their ADC counterparts. You see, ADC scale aggressively with gold as opposed to XP, therefore they would want to spend, instead of maybe on beads and Aegis, the fucking most stupid things that ever existed, instead of spending their money on that, they have to spend it on items. Because if you drop like 900 gold on a beads, well, you're gonna do pretty bad against boxing that warrior, and the warrior's not gonna care. I mean, 90-second beads versus like 180-second beads, who cares? It's beads. The warrior's gonna kill you, you just wasted 900 gold on that. And the last thing I have to bring up is strong late game versus weak early game. You see, the old active system was so good because in the early game, your actives were shit. They had long cooldowns, they didn't do much, and you had to drop 300 gold. Early game, it was more about the raw combat. It was more about raw engagement. I'm gonna blink in. So you really had to pick and choose your engagements early game and really be intelligent about how you're fighting these people. And late game, it was more about, having to use your relics, actives, fucking relics, having to use your actives to your advantage. You had to really be careful about when you use these actives, because in team fights, they're kind of decided one way or the other, so you don't really care about your CDR, right? Like, if you use Blink and you die and you lose the game, well, guess what? It doesn't matter about the cooldown, does it? Also, I'd like to point out that only one person in a 31-minute Conquest game got beads. Wouldn't it be nice to go back to those days?
Hey guys, Fantastic to be here, and today I want to show you how swag there is.
Pull my heart out of my chest, train my mind so I forget. Sink your teeth into my bones, dig me out, then fill.
I hate this channel. Nigga, 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 nigga. I'm 200% nigga.
Alright, now you must be asking yourself, well, there must have been a solid reason for them to change from the active system to the relic system. So I'm going to go right on the Smite wiki page, and I'm just going to kind of refresh my mind of, what was the reason they changed this system again? It has to be a logical and just a very...
Relics have the power of tier 3 actives.
Oh, fuck.
With an extended cooldown to compensate the fact that they are free, and a single one is obtained early in the game. We are excited to see how this system helps newer players get tools they need to survive, while veteran players will be able to make game-impacting decisions through their choices.
So, basically what I gathered from that is that Hi-Rez thinks that the player base is too stupid to be able to know when to spend money on actives, and that was virtually their sole purpose for changing the system. Are you fucking kidding me? Listen here, Hi-Rez. If your players are too stupid to know when to rank up an active, why have an item system? I've seen plenty of players build some of the worst builds I've ever seen in my entire life, but you don't see them wanting to remove the item system now, do you? It's because they're just stupid. They have no idea what they're talking about when it's this whole catering to newer players thing. Instead of removing a system that's been in place for a few years and most people loved, why not just educate your player base on what to do with actives, instead of just removing the system entirely and replacing it with a new one that sucks even more? And also, I hate to break it to you, Hi-Rez, now that you have, your 500 gold rank up system on the Relics to try and make it so much similar to the active system, how does that help your newer players? What are they going to drop 500 gold on their beads and rank it up? What are they going to drop their 500 gold on, like, thorns or something?
Mr. McFeely, I didn't order any whistles.
Alright, now let's talk about the actual balance of the Relics and why I hate them from a balance perspective. You see, the biggest problem I have with Relics is they kind of split the Relics into two separate categories. One category being the AoE teamfight Relics, and the other category being the personal use Relics. Now the first thing you're gonna know is half of these Relics are completely useless and see limited to no play. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cross those off, and I'm not gonna bother talking about them because I'll touch on a few of those briefly after I'm done talking about the ones that people actually get. So first, let's get out of the way the two team-fighting relics that I feel are still relevant in the meta. And you might be saying to yourself, well, there's only two, how can they be that bad? Well, that's kind of the problem. There really isn't a lot of options when it comes to what to build for relics for supports. It used to be that you could get meditation as one of your options, maybe a little bit more sustained path, but seeing as Shell pretty much does the same exact thing as meditation does, except it can't be countered by anti-heal, there really is no purpose to get meditation over Shell nowadays, especially seeing as the ranked up version is far superior late game. And as it goes for Sprint, Sprint has always been a very good team fighting relic for the supports. It helps burn slows, it's really good to help your gas pellet your AEC, and it's even just good to pop in yourself if you want to chase someone down, so it's just an overall good relic. Now where I draw my problems here is the fact that the other relics seem to be too specifically focused in that they're meant to do one specific function, whereas these two relics seem to be generally good and have no real downside to them. Now when it comes to personal relics, or greedy relics as I like to call them, there really isn't any choice. If you're squishy, you're gonna get beads and Aegis. If you're a warrior, you're gonna get blink, thorns, somewhere around that, maybe get a sprint or a shell from the AoE category, but there really is no other thing to do. I mean, you can only really get beads or Aegis if you're playing a squishy god and you just need to survive. There is really no other customization and no other purpose really to getting any other kind of relic. Every relic has been designed so limitedly with such a long cooldown, it's so restrictive that there really is no way for a mage to even justify getting anything else. I feel kind of bad for harping on so many people for getting beats and Aegis, because it really isn't their fault. They don't really have any other options when it comes to them. Like, look at these other personal relics. None of them really do anything that actually helps you win a game. Like, Teleport does nothing late game. Hog is just a joke. Sunder used to be good, but it got completely and utterly eliminated from the meta. Bracer was, in my opinion, my favorite relic of all time because it was a relic that really had to be used somewhat to a skill level that actually had to be comparable, and at the same time it could be hard countered in that you could actually build anti-heal to counter it. So it had a skill aspect to it, but it also was able to be countered. But apparently Hi-Rez felt like it was more broken than Beats and Aegis, even though Beats and Aegis has been purchased way more often than Bracer ever was. So that's it. That's all you have for options. I mean, there really isn't much to pick from, so you kind of have to understand, like, there is really nothing in the game. I'm actually going to do a quick comparison of the total amount of old actives you could have gotten in comparison to the new system, and I'm going to be very generous, and I'm going to be assuming that both Thorns and Blank are going to be included as well, even though I feel like Thorns and Blank are very restrictive to just warriors. So I'm going to go over and compare the total amount of actives compared to the total amount of relics. So, looking at all the old actives, I found out that there is a total of 40 unique actives in the game. Now, if we're talking about just full ranked actives at their absolute highest purchase level, we're talking about 20 unique actives. That is in total, that is including the highest rank you can go for each of them. And I'm going to try and narrow it down a little bit more to see which ones are... I'll try and eliminate the ones that are kind of never really got, so we'll see how low we can get this number in comparison to the relic list. Achilles Spear, extremely good. It had a very good purpose with ADCs being able to be a personal gas pedal with a huge downside, and it was a very interesting item, very risky. Shield of the Underworld, same thing as Thorns, would always be purchased on warriors, at least most of the time. It was a very good active and had a huge purpose in the game. Girdle of Inner Power had some niche plays with some mages, not really purchased that much, but I would still consider it a very valid active. Enfeebling Curse had a purpose in the game as a anti-ADC active, and it also doubled as a slow. It was obviously pretty good. Greater Meditation was good for a lot of warriors. It was a personal heal, and it gave a lot of mana back. It was also really good in Assault. Same with Salvation, pretty much the same. So I'm gonna let those pass. Wrath of the God was insanely good back then. It had the 25% execute, was purchased on pretty much every support and every soul laner in the entire game. Girdle of Support was a very good support active. It was purchased on a lot of supports, and it was just overall pretty good. Fist of the Gods was got on almost every jungler back then, so obviously that was good. Greater Purification was also insanely good back then. Obviously it's beads. Shell of Absorption saw a little bit of niche play, gave a lot of defense, so obviously it was pretty good on some Guardians, depending on which route you want to go. Teleport to Gods is the one that I'm going to have to cut off this list, because Teleport to Gods is so specific. It was a pretty cool active, but it's so specific and so expensive, I'm going to have to say that I'm not going to compare it to the total number of relics. Aegis Pendant and Greater Aegis, both of these had their ups and downs, whether it's Greater Aegis would be a complete immune, but it would also be completely CC immune while it would happen, and stationary, and after the duration you had 4 seconds of 20% reduction, so obviously it had its difference between mobility Aegis, and both of them had their ups and downs, and they were both very unique with what each one did. Greater Sprint was a personal version of Sprint. It was purchased on a lot of ADCs, a lot of warriors. It was obviously very good. Shielded Teleport was got on almost every soul laner back then, so clearly that was really good. Combat Blink was purchased on a lot of mages, so obviously that was really good. Greater Blink, I don't even need to explain if that was good or not. Heavenly Agility was kind of a niche pick, but I would say it was still relatively valid, seeing as it also had the ability to increase healing by 25% for all allies. And Weakening Curse was clearly very good because it was a very good blanket healing reduction active. So as you can see, out of the 20 actives, I would consider only one of those to be not purchasable. So that's 19 actives that actually have a purpose in the meta. Now, if we compare that to the 15 total relics that exist in the game, or I guess you could say 30 if you include the ranked up versions, I'm going to have to eliminate most of these because most of them just see little to no play whatsoever. I mean, I'll just quickly go through the list and try and summarize it for you, but Sprint obviously sees plays, Cursed Dunk never sees play whatsoever, it's just anti-heal with nothing else tacked onto it. Frenzy doesn't do enough to warrant any play whatsoever. Meditation just gets completely outclassed by Shell, and its ranked up version is a complete joke. Shell obviously sees play, so that's a very good one. Phantom is a complete and utter joke and is used to counter one god in the entire game, and it's pretty much never purchased, and even when it does purchase, it does its job very poorly. Horrific Emblem is okay, but it never really sees any play whatsoever because it's just not as good as Sprint. Turns out slowing people is not as good as just being able to make everyone move faster. Aegis and Beads obviously are purchased. That's kind of why I made this whole rant. Wrath sees virtually no play. It has no real purpose. Junglers can do without it. It doesn't have its execute anymore. It doesn't really have any purpose whatsoever anymore. Teleport, I would say, is completely useless. Some people still get in solo lane, but I think it's completely useless. It has no purpose in the early to mid game, seeing as you can't teleport to wards anymore, and its ranked up version only having the ability to be able to teleport to wards in the later stages of the game. I don't feel like it's as strong as any of the other relics that I've mentioned that are broken. Thorns is clearly good, and it's purchased on quite a few supports and warriors, so I obviously think that's pretty good. Sunder is completely just out of the meta now. It just has no purpose. It's just completely trash. Bracer is obviously completely out of the meta. They nerfed it into the ground. It has no purpose anymore. And Blink is just kind of good on some warriors and some specific combo gods. So if we're looking through the absolute, being as generous as I can, the total number of good relics, there's 6. There's 6 relics versus 19 actives. 6 relics, 6 relics, 19 actives. I'm thinking that's a pretty big problem. And I'm dead. Hooray. Just fucking done with this shit, dude. I'm sitting in well. You guys have fun. You guys have fucking fun. If no one wants me to try and win this game for you guys, you know what? You have fun without me.
That's unbelievable.
Loki has Teleria boots. What?
He's and the all ages. The all ages. Did you just see 2 of them ages for nothing? This
Doesn't matter.
These are the players of Smite now. Alright, have fun. Have fun winning your stupid game. Have fun. I'm done. Can you just stop it? Like, actually kill yourself off. Legit just end your life, because no one wants you around anymore. And your life is nothing but a pathetic waste of time. Like, if you think you're so good that you freaking die with nothing but beads, aegis, shell, and absolutely everything to your advantage, and you still manage to die to a freaking tier with auto attacks, like, what is even the point of living? So, if every god in the entire game who's squishy buys beads and aegis in the same order every single last game, do you think you can just nerf those? How is you think? When freaking chalks are building beads and aegis, you think you can nerf those relics? No, okay, it's just me, okay. It's just me. It's just me. It's just me. It's just me, I guess. It's just me. I'm just bad at the game. Okay. Everyone gets. I'm gonna make a prediction. I'm gonna blink and he's gonna beat. Whoa! I'm a freaking psychic, dude. I'm a freaking psychic. I'm literally a psychic, guys.
I'm gonna try it.
Whoa! I wasn't even close to killing him, but he beats us anyways because who cares? He was at full HP. He was at full HP. I wasn't even close to killing him, but beads anyways because who cares? It didn't matter that it was also after I completely used the Fearless Chain. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that the CC already went off because
What's that?
tier is fair.
You took a risk and went in aggressively to maybe get something out of it. Oh, aegis.
Punished. Why do you even play tier? There's literally no point. There's no point.
There is no reward for the risk.
Every single god in the game just buys the same 2 relics in the same order. Nice. Wait, end. No, we can't. Or can we? Can we end? Yes!
Tell them to buy more beads.
Oh my god!
Tim, please don't break your keyboard.
Did Tim break his desk?
I'm